So, in your experience, what are some of the best remedies now without like breaking the law? Can you shut off utilities on people? Do you just do a cash for keys? Do you go work with them directly, work out a deal? Like, what are some options to safely and efficiently remove squatters without legal consequences?
So, Nick, this is where it gets a little gray area. When I was researching all of this, it became pretty clear that there's multiple ways to go, but the prescriptive pathway of just going through the courts is a great way to spend a ton of money and just go completely blue in the face with a terrible system that is not intended for this type of application. So, the advice that I give people in Squatter Defender is not so much advice as so much as it is, here's what I've heard a handful of people have done, and here's what the outcome was. And so, with it being story based, I'm absolving myself of the liability of saying like, here's what you should do, because what you should, because I can't say that because none of these things are very like a lawyer is going to tell you to go the prescriptive route because that's what lawyers do. However, there's a lot of ways that people in the past have gotten out squatters, and some of them are creative, some of them are funny, but essentially, most of the time, it's some version of we're making these squatters feel extraordinarily uncomfortable. And then there's other ones that are, and how do you make them feel uncomfortable? One guy had somehow had access to a very large number of snakes. So, and he basically opened up a window or the chimney. I'm not sure how he got him in there, but he filled the entire house with snakes. And the squatters didn't want to be in a house full of snakes, so they left. Another guy did that with rats. Another guy took a few of his buddies and just like moved in and just like laid down on the couch. And the squatter's like, get out of here, whatever. You can't be here. And the guy's like, no, I live here. And they, to put it lightly, were not good roommates, and they just made the squatter in a number of ways not want to be there with them. And they were outnumbered because they were three dudes that were living there, and essentially they squatted on the squatter. And that's one story that is played out in multiple versions in a whole lot of successful squatter remover situations. Some version of squatting on the squatter. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Oh, and then lastly, before we talked about the shadow of the doubt that the squatters cast with the police officer, one guy that I heard about, and again, this is just I heard about it, can't recommend any of these things, but he discovers a squatter. Squatter tells him to F off. He goes back to his car and then he comes back. He kicks in the door and he breaks the window. And then he calls the cops and says, hey, there's a guy who kicked in my door and broke into my rental property. So, of course, the owner was the guy who broke in. But essentially, what he did is he created signs of forced entry. And so then, of course, the squatter is like, I didn't do that. But then the guy's like, well, I'm the owner of the house. Like, why would I break my own window or kick in my own door? Like, this guy clearly broke in here. And so the cops, because of the signs of forced entry, hauled him away. So I get much more in depth on what you should do in the squatter defender course. And I don't ever recommend, purchasing a bunch of snakes or anything like that. There are
Yeah.
practical things you can do to essentially recreate these things without incurring a crazy amount of cost or risk, that is.